week 11 in the National Football League because it was filled with some upsets. And this was not my best week of the year, not by a one shot. I ended up going 7-7 in the money line. So that's 500. That's no good to me. I am now 108-58 in the money line on the year. Last year at this time in the money line, excuse me, I was 111-53 in best bets. I only went 2 for 5 in week 11. I hit the 1 o'clock games. I hit Minnesota -5.5 against Tennessee. I hit the Rams -4.5 at New England. Then it went downhill. I had San Francisco -6.5 against Seattle. Obviously disgusting. This might be the worst bet of all time. I had Atlanta +2.5. They got their doors blown off by Denver. And then I had a chance to have a winning week Sunday night. Cincinnati came out flat in the first half. Joe Burrow, obviously, then incredible second half. And then J.K. Dobbins did the deal. I had the Bengals +1.5. Obviously, Chargers cover. And my number one seed prediction at the start of the year is 4-7. So, without further ado, let's get into it here. Obviously, we're starting off with the game Thursday night. Commanders Eagles. My Eagles winning this game 26-18, though it was really 26-10. Obviously, Gene Daniels to Zach Ertz in the back of the end zone there, making a one possession game, sort of a garbage time touchdown. Philadelphia still covered. The weird part about this game, folks, my Eagles at the end of the third quarter were trailing this game 10-6. They had no rhythm. Now, neither did Washington's offense. Shane Daniels did not have a very good night. Philadelphia's pass rush is starting to get to levels that it was dominant, like back in the 2017 and 2022 seasons when they won the NFC conference in both of those years. But Jalen Hurts in the offense, Saquon Barkley was really the engine of this game. I thought the Commanders did a good job taking away Devontae Smith, taking away A.J. Brown. Obviously, Dallas Goedert had some huge fourth quarter plays. Grant got with a huge fumble recovery. But at the end of the day, on a short week, Washington, who played a very physical Pittsburgh team the week before, that Eagles offensive line, led by Jordan Mailata, who came back from his injury, Landon Dickerson, Cam Urges, Mekhi Becton, Lane Johnson, they went to work behind maybe the best running back in football this year outside of potentially Derrick Henry in Baltimore in Saquon Barkley, who is at a career renaissance in Philadelphia. Jalen Hurts, again, doing a great job not turning the football over. But I think the biggest story for my Philadelphia Eagles this year not only has been the emergence of obviously guys like Jalen Carter on the defensive line, Zach Bond, Nakobe Dean at linebacker, but I think the biggest emergence has been not only Cooper DeJean, who came on for Avante Maddox and has changed my defense playing that slot corner, but Quenyon Mitchell has taken every team's number one receiving target and essentially taken them out of the game. He may be no joke as a rookie out of Toledo, the best corner already in football, and Vic Fangio and that Eagles defense has changed the way the Eagles play. Now the offense does not have to feel pressed. Now they can run the ball. You can use that offensive line. And then when they stack the box, you take your one-on-one shots outside to A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and obviously Dallas Goedert, also a big target there in the middle of the field. So I like the Commanders' story. Again, I think that they are a year away. I think the Eagles, and I told my good buddy who's a Commanders fan, Austin Arnold, this. I think my Eagles are the best team in the NFC East this year. Okay, Brown Saints, to be honest with you, again, I'm from Cleveland, but who cares? I had the Browns winning this game because I thought off a bye, Jameis Winston would play well, which he did to an extent. I did not know that Taysom Hill was going to go for 3 touchdowns. Did not think Darren Rizzi would be 2-0 as the interim head coach for the Saints. At this point, Kevin Stefanski's job might be on the line. The last 7 Browns head coaches have been fired following a loss to Pittsburgh. If they lose at home to Pittsburgh Thursday night, may be the end of the road for Kevin Stefanski. Mike Vrabel is there in Cleveland. Will there be a change of the guard? Will Vrabel take over? I have no idea. This Browns team is lifeless. They're a mess. For whatever reason, and tomorrow you'll hear my interview with my good buddy Michael Reiner. He is a huge Pittsburgh Steelers fan. He is one of the most astute Steelers fans that I know. We also talk a lot of professional wrestling in that conversation as well. But he told me, for whatever reason, Pittsburgh has Lamar Jackson's number. And 6 field goals later and good defense, the Steelers are 8-2. And I told Mike, and Mike will disagree. Again, you'll hear our conversation tomorrow. And I still feel this way after Sunday. Russell Wilson, to me, I know that they're undefeated since he became the starting quarterback. I don't see any difference. I don't see any juice. He's not completing passes at a high percentage. I just see a very good defense. I see Pittsburgh's offense still stalling in the red zone with all those good pieces that they have offensively. And the Steelers, to me, they're not a perfect team. They're definitely physical. They're well coached. They play good defense. If they don't turn the football over, they're going to be in every game they play. But I'm sorry, when you go up against a Patrick Mahomes, when you go up against a Josh Allen, a Justin Herbert healthy, and a Joe Burrow, I think Pittsburgh would be exposed. And so this is a divisional rivalry game. Obviously, anything can happen. Again, I'm not worried about Baltimore. Baltimore's still one of the best teams in the league. They can beat you on any given Sunday. They can also lose on any given Sunday. Lamar Jackson against anybody not named Pittsburgh or Kansas City is special. But at the end of the day, Baltimore now has lost 2 divisional games. They're 2-2 in their division. Both their wins are over Cincinnati. They still have obviously a game with Pittsburgh to go and then a game with Cleveland to go. Both of them are at home, and they're going to need both those games. As in my opinion, with Pittsburgh's schedule coming up, even though they're 2 games back and Pittsburgh has the tiebreaker, Baltimore is not out of the division race yet necessarily. Again, Pittsburgh at 8-2. I still just don't buy them. I need to see them have a dominating game against a good team, and I need to see the offense put touchdowns up on the board. Okay, like I said, I picked Minnesota -5.5. It was a pretty easy cover. I would say this about Brian Callahan and the Tennessee Titans. I've never seen Brian Callahan. A lot of people were not watching this game, and reasonably so. Minnesota sort of taking care of Tennessee. It's the Titans. It's Will Levis. I'm probably just gonna bet against whoever plays the Titans for the rest of the year because I think Will Levis is an abject disaster as a quarterback, and Tennessee needs a complete rebuild. But Brian Callahan is fighting for his guys. There was a couple calls in that game where Tennessee sort of got hosed, in my opinion, on illegal contacts, especially down at the goal line. They got a couple stops. There was an illegal contact call, and Callahan is going irate on the sideline. There was a play where the defender struck the receiver in the chest. They thought it was helmet to helmet. It was not clearly on the replay. Callahan fighting for his guys. I like to see that. At the end of the day, again, Minnesota has not played perfect. The last 3 weeks, I bet them. I bet them against Indy, I bet them against Jacksonville, and I bet them against Tennessee. They won and covered all 3 of those games. There are also 3 bad AFC South teams. Now, they swept the AFC South this year. There's not much to say. I mean, 2 out of those 3 teams are horrible, and I don't know what to make of Indy. I do know what to make of Jacksonville. I'm very surprised Doug Peterson still has a job. That team had flat out quit. Mac Jones, say what you want about Trevor Lawrence. He looks better than Mac Jones. Mac Jones looks like a third string quarterback in the NFL at this point. The Lions had 7 straight touchdown drives to open up the game. The Lions are just so good, man. Jared Goff, another perfect passer rating, but this time had the yards to go with it. 400 yards, 4 touchdowns. Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, Jameson Williams, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam Laporta. That offensive line, led by Penei Sewell at right tackle, right there with Lane Johnson as the best offensive lineman potentially in football, especially at that right tackle position. Lions are good. Clearly. They were 14.5 point favorites. I don't love taking big favorites, but they just dismantled Jacksonville. And in my opinion, I know Jacksonville's got a bye this week, even coming off their bye. I think the team just quit. I think Doug Peterson needs to be fired. I think they need to go after a new head coach, new general manager. They need to start all over in 2025. And Trevor Lawrence may not be the answer here. To me, it'd be very interesting to see. Bill Belichick has been linked to that job in Jacksonville. Would Bill and maybe, who knows, maybe Josh McDaniels comes in. And maybe they could get Trevor Lawrence back on track. I don't know. That is certainly right now outside of Josh Hines Allen, a sad sack of a franchise. The Bears. Wasn't this such a Bears game? I've been defending Caleb Williams for weeks. I'm proud of the way he played on Sunday. I said I did not doubt Caleb Williams. I did not think he was a bust. I thought they had the worst coaching ever from an offense that I've ever seen with that talent. And they really played well against the Packers. Again, Eberflus's defense creating turnovers, making plays, making life difficult for Jordan Love under center. Chicago giving it everything they have. Caleb Williams on the last drive, down by one, needing a field goal with an incredible throw to Roma Dunze down the sideline on fourth down, followed by an incredible out route cut to Keenan Allen to get in field goal range. And then, just like what happened in Denver the week before against Kansas City, watch field goal. Packers escape. They win by one. Chicago is now 4-7. Green Bay is up 3 games on them in the loss column. So my prediction, the Bears were going to be better than the Packers, is not going to come to fruition this year. Yes, it's been a disappointing season for Chicago, but could they turn it around potentially if they beat Minnesota? I don't think so. But I think at least with Thomas Brown as the OC, they started to get Caleb Williams moving more. He had 9 rushing attempts in the game for 70 yards, getting the football out of his hands quicker, using Johnson, the other tailback, outside of DeAndre Swift more in the power run game. They just look more confident offensively. And that's what you want to see from the Bears moving forward. Regardless, Eberflus keeps his job, Eberflus loses his job. I don't know at this point. You just want to see Caleb Williams stand in there and fight. And I still think the kid has a bright future. Okay, I didn't want to take the spread here, even though the Dolphins did cover the 7 points against Vegas. I said it could be dicey. It was dicey there for a little bit. Brock Bowers, how about his emergence? That's the one thing for Las Vegas that after trading away Devontae Adams, and no, they don't have a quarterback, and yes, that they're a bad football team, and yes, I think Antonio Pierce should not have a job next year, and they need a complete rebuild there. Brock Bowers is a foundational piece. An incredible game. 11 catches, over 120 yards, and a touchdown. In the end, Tua, Tyreek Hill, that Dolphins offense, the cheat motion, they were just flying all over the field. They put up 34 points. Now, all of a sudden, they get back to back wins, albeit against the Rams and the Raiders. Now they got New England coming to their building at home, which Mike McDaniel, believe it or not, has actually been very successful against the Patriots in his career. If Miami wins, you're sitting here with Miami 3 in a row going into a Thanksgiving night ball game against Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers, who knows, they could be coming off a loss to San Francisco. That's a very physical game. I don't know what to make of San Francisco right now, but again, I don't trust either San Francisco or Green Bay. The Rams, they did cover. Now, they covered the 4.5. They beat New England 28-22. Matthew Stafford, another incredible performance. Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp continuing to get healthy. Drake May, again, without nothing to work with, just continues to drop back and sling it, and you could tell that he can play in this league. And New England is taking short losses, yes, but they are scoring the football, which is way more important than winning at this point. And they have some foundational pieces to build on here with Gerard Mayo going forward. Again, I'm not sure he's the right coach. I think New England in this draft, they need to load up backs because Ramondre Stevenson, they barely use him. They don't even use, again, barely anymore. Obviously, we know receivers. I like Hunter Henry at tight end, though I would get another one. Obviously, we know they need about two to three more offensive linemen. Their offensive line, especially early in the draft, was a rotating door. I mean, I could make an argument outside of maybe one or two picks. You want to get an extra defensive lineman for depth purposes potentially, but I could make an argument this draft and this free agency period for New England needs to be entirely on the offensive side of the ball. They just need a complete revamp there. And this team, won by this defense, could be potentially here to make some noise next year. One team that I know will not make noise this year is the New York Jets. I said not to touch this game. I said not to bet this game. I have no idea what's going on with the Jets. They're pedestrian like. And I got to tell you something. I got to give Shane Steichen and Anthony Richardson credit. I was banging on the Colts. I didn't know what their direction was like. You know, they benched Anthony Richardson for a couple games. Joe Flacco came in. He was clearly not the answer. He was not the Joe Flacco we saw in Cleveland a year ago. And then Anthony Richardson, they said Flacco was going to be the starter moving forward for the rest of the year. Then they go back to Anthony Richardson, and all of a sudden, Anthony Richardson throws for 300 yards. He's completing passes, and he's running around making plays. Now, albeit it's against the Jets defense and has quit on Jeff Ulbrich, they are not the same team since Robert Saleh came back. Again, the Jets this year, two out of their three wins have been on a Thursday, and their only win on Sunday was week 2 against the Tennessee Titans. This is a team that has Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams, Garrett Wilson, Brees Hall as their skill position players. Their offensive line, they brought in Tyron Smith, they brought in Morgan Moses. It hasn't helped. And their defense, again, the likes of Quinton Williams, Quincy Williams, Sauce Gardner, DJ Reed, they are getting torched by average at best offenses. And so this Jets team is a colossal disappointment. At least in Chicago with Eberflus, you see fight. I don't see any fight with this Jets team. I don't care that they came back against Indianapolis and made it a game right before half with a couple of turnovers. The fact that they lost this game, this was the game to potentially save their season. They win, Chargers beat Cincinnati. You can make an argument for them trying to get on a roll here, trying to sneak into that 7th seed in the wild card. They've lost too many tiebreakers now. They've literally lost to teams like Denver, to teams like Indianapolis that are chasing them or that they would be chasing. So, Aaron Rodgers, I don't care if he comes back for the Jets next year. I'm done buying the Jets Kool-Aid. I'm finished with them. They're a disaster. I got to give all the credit in the world to Mike McDonald and the Seattle Seahawks because they started off 3-0. And I said, hey, listen, they beat the Broncos, Bo Nix's first career start in that environment. They beat New England, who again, that was the Jacoby Brissett New England Patriots. They were a different team now than what they were, here in week 11. And they beat a Miami team without Tua and Skylar Thompson, who couldn't move the ball. Those were their first 3 games. And so when they were sitting there 4-5, I called them frauds. I said I like their talent. They're not using Kenneth Walker enough. Geno Smith is not having as productive of a season. And their defense, for a defensive coach, was leaking oil. In Seattle now, they come off a bye. They're taking on San Francisco, a team that San Francisco dominated them just 5 weeks before, their best offensive performance of the year. And this Niners offense with Christian McCaffrey back, which is not in sync all game long. And then in the second half, this game at one point was, like a 10-10 game, somewhere around there, like 10-6. And Nick Bosa led the game for the Niners, and Seattle went back to back touchdown drive, including the drive when they were down 20-16. Geno Smith makes incredible run to the end zone from about 16 yards out, with 12 seconds left to seal it for the Seahawks. An incredible victory to not only get them back in that NFC West race, which, listen, the Rams have a tough game this Sunday against uh, Philadelphia. Seattle is right there, along with Arizona, along with San Francisco in that NFC West. Now, I don't think any of the three losers are going to be potentially in the playoffs. Maybe one of those teams sneak in, but I think Green Bay, Minnesota, Washington look to be your wild cards right now in the NFC. So by that math, you got to win this division. It's going to be very close. And these are, Arizona, Rams, San Francisco, Seattle. All four of these teams can make a case for them. That was a big win for Seattle, in my opinion, to save their season. And San Francisco at 5-5, they have blown leads throughout the entire year. They remind me of the Ravens from a couple years ago, where it's like the talent is there, but they're just blowing leads defensively. They feel very top heavy here. They are certainly in a Super Bowl loser hangover, and they are getting older. They've had more injuries this year than ever. And how about this? At the end of this season, they got to pay Brock Purdy $50 million. I'm very impressed by Bo Nix in Denver. He is getting better by the week. Bo Nix, you can make an argument right now over Jaden Daniels is the NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year. Yes, you can make that argument because of the way Jaden Daniels has played the last couple of weeks and because of the way Bo Nix has gotten better every single week. And Bo Nix in that Denver offense, I don't care that they were at home. They took apart an Atlanta team that got embarrassed by their arch rival Saints. This Falcons team, you would expect them, Raheem Morris, Kirk Cousins, to bounce back here and give Denver everything they had. And this game wasn't even competitive. And so Atlanta is still Atlanta. The Falcons are still the Falcons. Kirk Cousins is still Kirk Cousins. One week it's good, one week it's bad. He's had sort of two good weeks, two bad weeks, sort of mojo this year, um, which is why I think it's very possible. Obviously, that Atlanta here when they're coming off a bye, then they take on the Chargers at home. That will be a massive game that I expect Atlanta to give everything they've got, as they obviously still trying to hold on to this NFC South lead. Tampa Bay's got the Giants next week. That should be a win for them. But Atlanta's had a chance here over the last couple weeks. Again, at New Orleans when Tampa Bay lost to San Francisco, and then obviously at Denver here. If they win even one of those two games, and even both, they had an opportunity to solidify themselves as the NFC South champions already here in Week 11. They did not do that. They are cracking the door open here for Tampa Bay. But again, Denver, Vance Joseph was heavily criticized after they gave up 70 points last year in week 3 to the Miami Dolphins. That defense has been a top 7-ish defense in the NFL ever since. Bo Nix is playing well, and just like Washington already hit their over of 6.5 on the year, Denver has hit their over of 5.5. Both of those bets I had made in the preseason. The Almighty have fallen. We no longer have an undefeated team. Kansas City wins the game, or excuse me, Buffalo wins the game 30-21. My apologies on that. This was an incredible game. Obviously, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, the NFL Today, the CBS crew on site there for that game. And let's face it, Buffalo came out more ready to play. Josh Allen protected the football. He did not have a turnover. Patrick Mahomes had 2 interceptions. Travis Kelce only had 2 catches for a mere 7-8 yards, something like that. DeAndre Hopkins barely got involved. This felt like an Xavier Worthy game in the first half for Kansas City. They were really using his speed. He got into the end zone. Obviously Noah Gray, the 2 touchdown catches for Mahomes. This game was close. And the difference to me, it wasn't even the fact that James Cook got in the end zone twice for Buffalo. It wasn't the fact that Amari Cooper made 2 incredible catches for Buffalo at different points in the game. It was that 4th and 2, right? When it was, teetering on Buffalo 23, Kansas City 21. Do you kick the field goal, go up 5, make Patrick Mahomes drive down the field to beat you. Or if you go for it, if you get the first down, you're in very good position to win the game. If you don't get it though, Kansas City's gonna almost kick a field goal, go down and win the game. Your defense has been leaking oil, in the first half, has played better in the second half. But you don't want to give Patrick Mahomes the ball. You don't want Josh Allen standing on the sideline. You want this game decided in your offensive hands. And Josh Allen on a 4th and 2, QB power. Buffalo goes back to the well. Tony Romo was saying it the whole game. In big games, Josh Allen, they do design runs more for him in big games than in the not so big games. And in the big moments, they put the ball in his hands. Josh Allen turns into a linebacker playing quarterback, runs over defenders, gets into the end zone, calls ball game. Buffalo knocks off the undefeated Chiefs. Now, what does this mean? This only means to me the number one seed for the Chiefs is not locked up yet. I don't care what the spread is. I have not looked at the number yet. I think I'm going to take the Chiefs against Carolina. I don't care if it's a 20-point spread. I think they're going to absolutely annihilate Carolina. I think they'll beat Vegas then. They're obviously on Black Friday. So, Buffalo's got a couple tight games coming up here. They're on their bye. Then they take on San Francisco. And I know the Detroit Lions in Detroit are somewhere on that schedule too. So, again, the Steelers, I don't buy in, even though they're a game back of Kansas City for the 1 seed somehow. Those two teams play each other on Christmas. I'm taking Kansas City in that game right now. Let me tell you that. After what Kansas City experienced on Christmas last year, which was their last loss. So think about that. They go from December 25th to November 17th without an L on their schedule. That's pretty incredible. That's almost an 11-month straight stretch. I still think this team's going to be fine. Their defense is so good. Not doubting them. Buffalo has played them well in the regular season historically. Josh Allen's 4-1 in his career in the regular season against Mahomes. He's 0-3 against him in the postseason. We all know, you know, almost don't only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. We know these two teams are probably going to meet up again this year. The way the seeding looks to me, it's going to be in the AFC Championship game. If that's the case, I look at it right now and I see Kansas City as the 1. I see Buffalo as the 2. I see Baltimore as the 3. I see Houston as the 4. I'm going to go ahead and say I think Chargers 5, Pittsburgh 6, which would again, and maybe, Denver 7. If it's Cincinnati 7 for the record, I think Cincinnati, if they get the chance, they could go into Buffalo. They could win that game. That would set up Cincinnati and Kansas City in the divisional round, which would just be an incredible ball game. But if it's the way it is right now, Buffalo would defeat Denver. To me, Pittsburgh going into Baltimore, I think Baltimore would win that game at home. So that would set up then. And then I think, by the way, I think the Chargers could go into Houston and win with Jim Harbaugh. So that would set up Chargers at Chiefs, which I do think, and we'll get to the Chargers here. I think they're set up to beat Kansas City potentially. They are just like the Chiefs. They don't have a ton of weapons, but they run the football. They're very good on defense. And Justin Herbert with Rashawn Slater at left tackle, with Joe Alt at right tackle, Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins in the backfield. This was Jim Harbaugh's vision to give Justin Herbert all day in the pocket to throw, to establish that run game, and for these young receivers, Josh Palmer, Lad McConkey, Quentin Johnson, to step up in that passing game. Now that you have the run game, the play action will open up the passing game. And boy, has it ever. And Cincinnati, with Joe Burrow having an MVP like season, you can make a case. Him and Josh Allen right now are 1A, 1B for MVP. Joe Burrow has better statistics than any quarterback in the National Football League. He's got Jamar Chase. He's got obviously T. Higgins. You have Jermaine Burton from Alabama. You have Yogi Bosch. You have Mike Gesicki. Chase Brown has came on and, in my opinion, replaced Joe Mixon fine at the running back position. That defense, Trey Anderson leads the league in sacks, and this team can't stop a nosebleed. And Joe Burrow had an incredible second half when they could not stop Justin Herbert in the first half. And Cincinnati's offense sometimes does, start off slow. The defense did an incredible job most way through the second half, pitching a 3-point shutout to give Burrow an opportunity to get Higgins wide open on a fourth down, to give Chase that touchdown ball, to get them back in the ball game. Two huge missed kicks by Evan McPherson, which was evident around the entire National Football League this weekend. Kickers missing kicks wide left. But the Chargers did not leave it up to their kicker, Cam Dicker. J.K. Dobbins runs it in the end zone. They win the game 34-27. They're going to be a playoff team, as I predicted. Cincinnati now, that was a huge loss. And at 4-7 here, you still got to play Pittsburgh twice. You got to play Cleveland. You got to play Denver. And then there's two other games on that schedule, obviously. I think they need to win out if you're the Cincinnati Bengals, if you want a chance at the playoffs. And then Houston just dismantled Dallas last night. Joe Mixon, big game. Nico Collins back for the Texans. That Cowboys-Giants game on Thanksgiving. It's Cooper Rush. It's Tommy Cutlets. Enough said. Dallas' season is over. They can't stop the run, and they can't run the ball. Team's bad. Jerry Jones and, Michael Irving is already complaining at the Tyson Jake Paul fight that he's already told Jerry Jones that he wants him to hire Deion Sanders. Scares me to death as an Eagles fan. The possibility of Deion and Shador coming to Dallas. That's the only thing that worries me about the Cowboys moving forward. They need to beat the Giants and they need to beat the Carolina Panthers to stay away from the Deion Shador Sanders sweepstakes. But this season for the Cowboys is over. And I think Washington will bounce back against Philadelphia next week. I'm telling you right now, Washington and Kansas City more than likely are two of my 5 best bets for week 12 of the 2024 NFL season. So reminder here, went 7-7 in the money line, only 2 for 5 in best bets. That puts me at 108-58 on the year in the money line and 33 for 55 on the year in best bets. I'll give you where I'm at relative to the standings for last year on Thursday when I make my week 12 money line picks and best bets. Like that clip from the Brand's World podcast? If so, make sure you go down there and hit that subscribe button. While you're down there hitting the subscribe button, make sure to also hit the notification bell so you never miss another upload. And make sure you check out all the other clips from the Brand's World podcast right here on YouTube.